Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. You're watching here on YouTube or listening on Apple Pods, or Spotify. Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, November 7th, and I am here to chat WWE NXT. And this is going to be a fun show to talk about because not only do we have to break down what went down on NXT here tonight, which included the return of NXT Women's Champion Lyra Valkyria, we also had none other than a big news day for NXT because we found out some news about where they're going to be next year, which is going to be on the CW network. And then, of course, we had a confrontation between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes that left us with more questions than answers, maybe even a little bit of self-doubt, depending on where you were at in terms of what you were thinking about this feud, and so much more. But before we get started, I want to thank everybody who is here, who's joining the stream. I appreciate you all very much. And I want to start things off with giving a shout out to Sheldon Jackson once again, continuing his streak here with the DWO memberships. I think this is the 20th day in a row that Sheldon Jackson has sent in memberships to each of the streams here on the channel. So thank you so much to Sheldon. I know I appreciate it. I know a lot of people here appreciate it as well because they get free memberships and free stuff are great. Woo! All right. Thank you so much to Sheldon. Once again, guys, if you want to help support this show, give a little love, help support, you are more than welcome to send in a super chat. Super chats also get your question, your comment, your statement, your hot take, your cold take, your recipe, whatever it is, right here on the stream. And we're going to have a good time. So let's get to it, everybody. I want to start things off with the big news of the day, and that was that NXT is going to be moving over to the CW network in about a year. So October 2024 is when we're going to start seeing NXT no longer on the USA network, but instead the CW network. And it's a 5-year deal. So we're going to be seeing them there almost through like 2030, which is even crazy to even think of that time period. I don't want to think that far ahead, but that's where we're at with NXT. This is when I saw the news, when WWE sent out the press release making the big announcement, I just thought, damn, that is freaking cool. And the reason for that is that CW is really, it's in so many freaking homes, everybody. And I feel like for the most part, CW originally was doing a lot of the superhero type of shows. You would see, I would watch Riverdale on the CW, but I know that they had so many other shows like Green Arrow, they had Flash, they had so many other ones. I don't really watch superhero shows, but I know that they were on there. And so that network to me has kind of been in recent years kind of stuck on that. But I know that now they're moving more towards sports and putting more sports programming on the CW. So it looks like they're kind of changing, rewiring things at the network. And so having WWE programming on the CW is their way of trying to get more of a sports audience. And I know that they had said that they're looking more to getting an older audience as well as a newer audience brought in over to the CW in the mix with the audience that they already have. So I know that they're kind of rewiring things there. And so having NXT be part of this feels like a big deal, especially given the fact that this is their developmental brand, everyone. Like, this is WWE's developmental brand. So for them to get a deal like this is pretty damn freaking cool. So this was good news. I consider this a big win for WWE, for WWE NXT in particular, of course, but really good stuff across the board. So I'm very excited to see the big move to CW. And I'm wondering what new things we might be seeing once they actually move over. Like, I don't know what kind of differences we might be seeing either in the sets and the branding in terms of presentation, because there's a lot of things that are already working on NXT, and a lot of you guys already know what those things are, especially if you watch the program on a weekly basis. You guys know what's working for NXT, and so I hope they keep those things moving. And now it makes even a lot more sense as to why we saw this whole new effort be put on the NXT brand, because for a while it kind of seemed like they were kind of just thrown out there when we saw the rebranding of this very colorful version of NXT when it was NXT 2.0. It kind of felt like there was so much coming to us all at once. And it was a little bit hard, right? In the beginning, it was a little bit hard to really get used to this whole new world, especially when we were so used to this black and gold brand. And the black and gold brand was so very well respected and had such a hardcore fan base. And I know that a lot of people decided to not give NXT 2.0 a chance. And I know that a lot of people decided like, oh, wow, if they're not going to be having the kind of matches that they're having that they did when it was the black and gold brand, then I'm not interested, right? And so in terms of like the audience, I still feel like the audience feels different. The audience does feel different from like the black and gold era, especially because, oh my gosh, like we remember what their shows were like on the network. What if you ever went to a show, you know what that was like, what the specials were like, what the takeovers were like, all of that. But with that being said, once they kind of scrapped the 2.0 and started to focus a little bit more on adding quality in-ring wrestling on top of the stuff that they were already doing right with this new version of NXT, I feel like they found a really nice balance on the show. And so now like you're starting to see some rewards here. So exciting stuff. Looking forward to NXT being on the CW. We got Stephen Marchuli here who sends in a super chat saying, I'm wondering if CW getting NXT opens up Disney for Raw. I have no idea, guys. Like this to me, it's funny because I feel like we all had all of these predictions on what was going to happen, what place was going to get what show was going to go where. And so far it's starting to feel like places are like things are coming up that maybe we didn't even consider, right? And so looking at this, I think is a fun move, but I don't know what that means for Monday Night Raw. Stephen Marchuli, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that a whole lot. We also got Seth Iroth, who also just came in here and he just became a member, I believe. So Seth, thank you so much for becoming a member of the DWO. All right, let's keep it going. Let's see what people are saying here, by the way, about this. We got Fly as Fresh as Prince who says, just bring back the black and gold NXT. That was the best wrestling ever. Not saying this NXT is not good, but I just miss the fast-paced wrestling. Other than that, NXT today is effing awesome. I feel like first, like I don't think they need to bring back the branding of the black and gold NXT. Right, we know that nostalgia, and it's so weird to say that NXT Black and Gold now would technically count as nostalgia because nostalgia kind of always works. It always gets people. But personally, I feel like they've invested so much time and so much effort into what they've been doing right now that I like what they're doing in terms like leave the branding for the most part as is. Like I'm sure they're going to tweak it, of course, but I'm fine with it not being the black and gold brand anymore. But I feel like the wrestling's going to get better as we continue on seeing all of these talents develop, because that's kind of where we were at. We started and a lot of the matches were really rough, but as we've gone on seeing the talent develop in their developmental brand, we've definitely been seeing better wrestling on the show. And then of course it helped to have the main roster people come in every now and then and have certain feuds. So I think that definitely helped a whole lot. And also getting more eyeballs to people that may have given up on NXT or didn't want to give NXT a chance. So good stuff there. Fly as Fresh as Prince. Thank you so much for sending in your thoughts on this one here. And all right, so let's go ahead and keep it going, guys. I want to get into a lot of what we saw on NXT today, and I want to start things off with Lyra Valkyria because she is back. And this ended up going in a direction that I really wasn't expecting. So Lyra returned. She's the new NXT Women's Champion. Obviously, we saw her defeat Becky Lynch on week 1 of Halloween Havoc. And now she's back. All right, by the way, I want to take a second to shout out Lyra's look. She looked phenomenal today. I loved the top bun that she was wearing with the red lip. It really, really made her look, because she has to now as champion, you're going to want to up your game, right? And part of upping your game is kind of changing a little bit of your presentation and how you present yourself to everybody in terms of your look. You want to look like a freaking star. And I love what she wore out there today. I don't know if she's going to be changing her gear. I'm pretty sure her gear and her look is going to stay as is. It's pretty cool what she's got going right now. But I love how different she looked when she's not in her wrestling gear. And I kind of want to see a little bit more of that, because I feel like the look that she has right now when she wrestles, I still feel like it might need to be just a little bit tweaked, just a little bit, just to make it feel more larger than life. More star presence. I think that's the change that I would like to see in Lyra Valkyria's actual ring gear. But when it comes to her just coming out there and in her regular clothes, oh, I loved it. I loved it. And it feels, and it's weird because now I'm starting to feel like, because based on Lyra's clothing, like what she wears, based on her gear, I don't know, you would kind of expect her to dress differently. And so now I'm starting to feel like maybe it's not entirely matching her personality, what we're seeing right now out of her gear. So I don't know. I get this vibe that that it's not totally her personality. I get a little bit more of a glam vibe from Lyra Valkyria than I did before I saw her in her actual street clothes. So anyways, that's just what I want to throw out there. And so I'm curious to see how Lyra is going to be presenting herself in the coming weeks. But anyways, the thing that was unexpected in all of this was Lyra. So she goes out there and she's talking about how she's putting over Becky Lynch, she's putting over her hero, and she's putting over the fact that she was able to defeat her. But then out of nowhere, Xia Li comes through. She comes through the crowd. She confronts Lyra and asks her if she saw what she did to her hero on Monday Night Raw. For those of you who missed it, Xia went out there and took out Becky Lynch before she could actually make it to the Battle Royal. And so Becky Lynch was essentially put out from it. And Xia Li and Becky Lynch have been having a little feud going over on Monday Night Raw. But now Xia Li is out here confronting Lyra Valkyria. And I first saw this as, okay, we know that Xia is really just a filler feud for Becky Lynch over on Monday Night Raw. Like I don't really feel like many of us are taking this feud or this storyline very seriously because it feels like it's going to come and go with the wind. But now that they've incorporated Lyra into this, I don't mind this. And you want to know why I don't mind this? Well, first of all, Xia Li coming to NXT, obviously she has a past and a history with NXT and different versions of herself, but she still has a past with NXT. But coming down to NXT and having this confrontation with Lyra, I like, because of course it ties in the connection that they have, which is Becky Lynch. But the other thing that I like is if they do a match between Lyra and Xia, which I would hope that they do. If not, then this confrontation was meaningless to me. I hope that they do a match because Lyra getting a victory over a main roster talent. Granted, it's not Becky Lynch anymore. It's Xia Li, but she's still a main roster talent. So having Lyra's first defense be against Xia Li and she defeats Xia Li, I think it's a nice little extra boost to her title reign, kicking it off with defending the title against somebody that's on the main roster. So even though I wasn't expecting this and I wasn't expecting this direction at all, I did not mind it whatsoever. And that's interesting because I say that with the fact that I haven't liked this feud with Xia Li and Becky Lynch on Raw. In fact, I've kind of hated it, mainly because I felt like they really set up Xia Li for failure by making her go out there and asking Becky Lynch for a match. And then Becky Lynch says yes. And then Xia Li decides to take it back. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Who ever goes up to anybody to ask for something, and when they say yes, you go, oh, well, not right now? Who does that? Nobody. If you're a heel or you're a babyface, it's done regardless if you're a heel or a babyface. So for that reason, it really, really killed my interest in Xia Li and Becky Lynch on the main roster. So I was kind of just like, whatever. I'm going to watch the show. I'm going to see how it plays out, but I'm not really going to be I'm not planning on being entertained by it, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not planning on really fully investing myself into this story, right? It was just going to be there for me. But again, I like incorporating her over to the NXT side for the Lyra Valkyria situation. So, it's making it work. I'm cool with it. Will Chisholm sends in a super chat saying, I gotta say, I do love how they are blending storylines on Raw and NXT with Xia Li. Triple H and HBK are really trying with her. And then on top of that, for example, Alpha Academy. Yesterday when we had that match with Akira Tozawa and Shinsuke Nakamura, even though he lost, right afterwards, Chad Gable was saying how don't worry, you're going to get your win back when you go over to NXT tomorrow, and we're going to be there with you. It's little things like that that help make NXT feel a little bit more special because it's actually being mentioned on the show. We were all like, we remember this time period where NXT was its own island. Like, it was not mentioned on Raw, it was not mentioned on SmackDown. It was just never really mentioned. It was its own island. And so now to see those brands intertwine, it's nice. I think they've been doing a good job with that. Will Chisholm, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it very, very much. MD says Denise was not sports entertained. I was not sports entertained with Xia Li and Becky Lynch, guys. Now, granted, like I said, I'm just going to sit back and watch whatever's put in front of me. I'm not going to stop watching or anything like that. That would be just too crazy and dramatic. But it's not the thing that I tune in for to Monday Night Raw for. So that's where I'm at with that. All right. Let's continue on. Tony says she's never sports entertained. I'm sports entertained. Yeah, I would say so. All right. Well, let's continue on into the Iron Survivor Challenge because it is that time of year. NXT Deadline is taking place on December 9th in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we are going to get our Iron Survivor matches once again. So the Iron Survivor Challenge was really actually very fun when they did it last year. I remember when it was first introduced, when they mentioned all the rules, everybody was like, what the like, this is either going to be really cool or it's going to be a shit show. We didn't really know what to expect, but it actually ended up playing out very nicely. The people enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it, and they're bringing it back, and I'm glad because it's a different type of matchup, and it's something cool to get a bunch of people in on the show, but for a specific reason. And the fact that it's early November, we're a month away from the show, we're starting the qualifiers, and they really built up the qualifiers. That is what I really enjoy. So last year, they did this thing where they brought in Hall of Famers, and they all sat in a table and really discussed who they wanted to be part of the Iron Survivor Challenge. Well, they kind of tweaked it a little bit this year. They still are bringing back Hall of Famers. Today we had Mick Foley's qualifying matches, and we're going to have JBL, Jerry Lawler, and Lita as well. But this time they are picking people to have matches against each other. So each Hall of Famer is picking a match for the men and for the women. So we got Mick Foley's picks today, and Mick Foley's qualifier for the women, his picks were Tiffany Stratton and Fallon Henley. And for the men, he picked Djack and Tyler Bate. So this is fine. I like them doing this, right? It's cool. Whatever. So Mick Foley basically said that last week we were supposed to be seeing this match against Tiffany and Fallon. And remember, we were literally sitting here last week and we were like, damn, we actually wanted to see this match between Tiffany and Fallon, but Tiffany attacked Fallon during her entrance and the match never actually took place. So this week we get it, but as part of a qualifier. And I got to tell you, I like that a lot more because clearly the two girls, they already had their beef going. They already had a little feud going, but now there's stakes involved, and that always amplifies things a lot more. So I think them doing it this way, thumbs up, much better. And unfortunately, we just got teased last week, but we got an actual matchup today between Tiffany Stratton and Fallon Henley. And here's the thing, though. I got to tell you, I really like Fallon Henley, but I knew Tiffany Stratton had to win this match. Like, there was no way former NXT Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton was not going to be part of this Iron Survivor Challenge. There was no way at all. But that's the thing. Fallon Henley has been killing it. She's been a likable person on the show. She's been consistently featured. She's good in the ring. She's you want to see more from Fallon Henley, right? Like, we're all kind of there waiting to see when is the real breakout moment for Fallon. Because so far, she's been part of the show. She's been there. Okay, cool. But we're waiting to see her kind of take that next step, take that next leap into whatever is next in her career, or at least on NXT. So her taking the loss here, I was like, damn, these are both two women that I actually want to see in this match. But whatever, Tiffany Stratton, she ends up getting her win. It was what was honestly a pretty fun match. And I liked what they did for the ending. So basically for the ending, actually wait, before I get to the ending, I would hate myself if I forget to mention this part. There was a moment during this match where Tiffany Stratton picked up Fallon Henley and just threw her ass out of the ring. Dude, I am more gentle when I throw out my garbage, okay? More gentle when I throw out my garbage. She threw Fallon Henley out like she was not a human being. She just freaking tossed her out. It was great. I'm sorry, Fallon, but it was phenomenal. And I liked it too because I know that I wasn't the only one, because right away they had like all of these crowd shots of people reacting to that toss. And like everybody had the oh damn reaction to that. So I did like that part. But anyways, fast forward to the ending. We end up seeing Tiffany Stratton hit Fallon Henley with a power bomb, but Fallon Henley kicks out. Then afterwards, she ends up going for her prettiest moonsault ever. Fallon moves out of the way. And then eventually we see Tiffany kind of chop block her on the leg and then takes advantage, hits her prettiest moonsault ever, and gets the victory over Fallon Henley here. So Tiffany Stratton continues on. She qualifies. She is going to be in the Iron Survivor Challenge for the women. And we got 4 more spots left, though. 4 more spots. I'm looking at this and I'm going, who are we filling in on these 4 spots? Now, send in your predictions. I know one of them has to be Kiana James, because Kiana James and Tiffany Stratton later on in the show had this little backstage segment where they seem to become friends, where her and Tiffany seem to get along because they're both bougie and mean. So they're both mean girls. So they get along because of that. And so I'm expecting Kiana James to be in it. But the other people that I'm thinking, who can they add to this match? I would personally like, okay, so I think they're going to add Ava Raine. Or if she's not added to the actual match, I definitely think she might be having a qualifier, because we did see Ava Raine. They didn't really focus in on this, but during one of the segments that they were doing behind the scenes, you can see Ava Raine going into Shawn Michaels' office. So I'm thinking that has to do with the qualifier. Who knows? But I feel I'm thinking, I don't know if Roxanne Perez is going to be in it, only because I'm kind of expecting her to be in a match with Lola Vice based on what we saw here today. I kind of have a feeling they may go that direction, but Roxanne Perez could be another one. I feel like Blair Davenport should be in it because she's been freaking kick-ass, and I think she would be really kick-ass in the match. Gigi Dolan, I think, has to be in it too. I'm curious to see if they're going to give Thea Hale an opportunity here to kind of show a little something extra. And I'm wondering, I don't know what's going on with Cora Jade or how much longer she's going to be out, but I'm wondering if she could be a surprise and maybe somehow get incorporated into this Iron Survivor Challenge. Because if you recall, when the Hall of Famers pick the person that they want, this is not just based off of 2 weeks or 1 week. This is based off of their career in NXT. But then it could also be somebody who's new and who's hungry and wants to be part of the match. So they can really go any direction. But I do think that there are more options, though, on the women's side of who could be in this Iron Survivor Challenge, more so than the men, because I went on the obviously to the roster page to make sure that I didn't miss anybody. And as I was scrolling through the roster page, I'm like, okay, I'm not expecting this person to be in it because I'm pretty sure this person's going to be feuding with that person. And so it only left certain people for the men. So I feel like the women's is just going to be maybe a little bit more interesting. At least right now, we still don't know who's in these qualifying matches, but we'll find out. Anyways, so, and we got people saying that we should be seeing Fallon Henley, but yeah, no, she already lost. So I don't think she's going to be in it. And plus, I don't like when they do the whole, I mean, they could do like a second chance thing, but the way that they're doing it right now, I don't think so, because the Hall of Famers pick the qualifying matches. But we will see. And this is a super chat here from Will Chisholm, who says, stuff like this is how NXT got that nice deal with the CW. Yeah, coming up and trying different things. That's the thing. I will say this. We did see NXT take some risk in their programming in terms of doing and trying things. Some things didn't work. Some things have. There you go. That's the only way you're going to find out, right? Will Chisholm sends in another super chat. Thank you so much, Will. He says, I wasn't a fan of Ariana Grace's gimmick until tonight. She had me laughing so hard. Yeah, she was kind of getting involved and in the women's tag team match and coming out and making announcements until she finally gets attacked. I like her gimmick only because it reminds me of Miss Congeniality. And if you haven't seen Miss Congeniality, it's a really funny movie with Sandra Bullock and it's a good one. It's like one of the ultimate chick flicks out there. So if you haven't seen Miss Congeniality, I would definitely watch it. And I hope that Ariana is basing it off of Miss Congeniality to a certain extent. Possibly. I don't know. I'm assuming. All right. Everybody's bringing up Jade Cargill. Again, I don't know how they're actually going to debut her. If she does, she should be in the Iron Survivor Challenge if she's going to be on NXT. If she's going to be on NXT, this is the way to do it. This is definitely the way to do it. And Sampai Boone sends in a super chat also saying, why not say Jade Cargill? Well, we don't even know if Jade Cargill's on the actual NXT brand. They haven't said. So for that reason, she didn't pop up right away. But if they are going to bring her into the NXT brand, this would definitely be the it. Also, think about it just based off physique alone. Based off of physique alone, Jade Cargill out there bragging that she's the Iron Survivor Challenge winner. It just matches. I can't explain it. The name, the physique, it just goes together, right? It just goes together. Thank you so much to Sampai Boone for sending in the super chat here. I appreciate that. All right. That was the women's portion of this. Let's get into the men's portion of this. Mick Foley's pick for the qualifier was Djack versus Tyler Bate. And this was a very fun match. I was into this one. There was a specific moment that I really enjoyed. So we see Djack go to the top rope. Tyler Bate follows immediately after him. And he executes a suplex on Djack. But Djack ends up landing on his feet. And then he ends up actually getting Tyler with a boot to the face. He goes for the cover, but Tyler Bate kicks out. I really, really love that. And then we end up seeing Djack get Tyler just with a bam, with a knee to the face. 1, 2, 3, match is over. I'll be real with you. I did not know what direction they were going to go in with this one. I didn't know if they were going to go with Djack. I didn't know if they were going to go with Tyler. And I feel like Tyler and Djack are kind of similar in the way that they are both good in different ways, right? They're both good wrestlers, but in totally different manners. But Djack, when he was first introduced to NXT, I thought they were going to skyrocket this guy to the moon, right? The way that he was presented, I thought, man, they're probably going to make him NXT champion really soon. And he went for the NXT North American Championship a couple of times, but it didn't pan out. And I feel personally that I remember more losses for Djack than I do victories. And if he did get wins, they were just little wins here and there that didn't really amount to all that much. And so I felt that Djack really kind of needed a win here and to be included in this challenge. But then I look at Tyler Bate, and I think Tyler Bate is one of the best wrestlers that they have on the NXT roster. And so for that reason, I'm thinking, damn, how do you leave out Tyler Bate out of this? But I guess they made the right decision here with Djack. I will say that I guess the way that he's been presented on the roster, he needed that extra kick, right? That extra kick to really get him moving forward. So I think Djack was probably a good pick here to qualify for the Iron Survivor Challenge. Although I do like Tyler Bate a whole lot, but this seems to be the right call. Now, for the men, I mentioned this earlier, but I do think the women have a little bit more options in terms of who realistically can be part of this Iron Survivor Challenge. I'm looking at this right now, and just some names that I'm thinking of. Lexis King, of course. Nathan Frazier. I want to say Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, but I don't know where we're going to be at by then. There could be a situation where we're actually getting Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes by then. I don't know. So for that reason, I don't know if they're going to be in the match or if they're going to be against each other in a separate match. Then I was also thinking Joe Gacy. He's looking like he's doing a character change. He had a promo later on in the evening where he's talking about how he doesn't know what to do, but then at the same time, he does know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do. I have no idea. Realistically, no idea here. So I'm wondering if Joe Gacy is going to be one of those people in there. Who knows? We'll see. And if you guys have any thoughts on for the men, because the women's names came rolling in of people that should be in this match. I'm not seeing as many names for the men. Right now I'm seeing Dr. Thanos put out Lexus King. That's kind of it. I'm not seeing anybody else predict any other good names. So I don't know. We'll see what they do with the men. They got to have more like killer men in there. Jared says Axiom. Braden says Eddie Thorpe. Okay. I wouldn't hate it. I love Axiom, by the way, but who doesn't? Axiom's pretty freaking great. All right. That's where we're at with the Iron Survivor Challenge. Let's move on. So I mentioned earlier that we had the whole Ariana Grace thing where she came out and she was introducing matches, and I don't even know what she was saying, to be honest. She was coming in and out and spewing all of this nonsense. I have no idea what she was even saying, but this was all during a tag team match that we got between the women, which was Lola Vice, who is your NXT Women's Breakout Tournament winner for this year, and Elektra Lopez, and they took on Roxanne Perez and Kehlani Jordan. So how this match came about is that Lola and Elektra Vice are not necessarily making a lot of friends backstage. And Kehlani Jordan is pissed of the way that things turned out last week and how Lola had Elektra Lopez in her corner, thus helping her out. And Roxanne Perez confronts Lola and tells her, just because you have that doesn't actually mean that you're going to become NXT Women's Champion. So this led to a pretty quick tag team match, not a bad one, a very quick one, to be honest. And so I'm thinking that we are probably going to get a little bit more out of this between Roxanne and Lola. I would actually like that, though, because it feels like even though Roxanne and Kehlani Jordan got the win here and they're supposed to be baby faces, I'm getting like a very small hint at Roxanne kind of feeling just a tad bit heelish. Very, very minimal, but it's there. Even the way that she confronted Lola, I don't know. There was something there that either maybe we're not used to seeing Roxanne. I know Roxanne, we've been seeing her change a little bit, right? We've been seeing her become a little bit more edgier, a little bit more aggressive. We've been seeing that for the last couple of months with Roxanne, and I like that. So maybe we're just not used to it. So it's kind of reading differently because she for the longest time on NXT, she's always been like this very sweet character. Like, I grew up loving WWE and I worked hard and made the dream come true and I'm here. That was the gimmick for the longest time, right? So now we're seeing a different Roxanne. So I don't know if I'm reading this one wrong, but I feel like we should be expecting some sort of surprise out of Roxanne, right? Like, I'm expecting her to have this real bad girl moment. I don't know when, but it's got to be coming, right? It's got to be coming. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. We will see. All righty. Kaden Crawford says, Roxanne has a point. Don't make enemies when you have a cash in chance. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Lola Vice decides to do. All right, I want to get into the meat of the show, which is really what happened towards the end of NXT here today, and that is the Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams situation. So the best way to describe this is, how many of you guys watch murder documentaries? Now, I got to tell you, I watch these all the damn time, all the time. Right? All of them. I don't care if I've never heard of the person. I will sit there and I will watch it. And there are so many times where, for example, like the mystery ones where you don't know who the murderer was, where they present a case, right? And you're thinking, yes, this is the person. This is totally the person who committed the murder. But then afterwards, they present some new piece of evidence, or all of a sudden somebody else comes in. And there are times, and this is so weird, but there are times where people take credit for murders, even though they didn't actually commit the murder, but they still take credit for it because they want, I don't know what it is that they want, but this actually happens in these murder documentaries. With all of that being said, this reminds me of what we're seeing with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Granted, it wasn't a murder, but Trick Williams was attacked. Trick Williams was attacked, right? We don't technically know by who, but everyone's big, most obvious option is that it's Carmelo Hayes, right? You look at this and you're like, it's Carmelo Hayes. Why are we even making a big hoorah about it? It's Carmelo Hayes. We all know the answer, right? And that's how I felt for the longest time. But now I'm starting to think, is that too obvious? Is it too obvious? So I want to give credit to NXT here because they have successfully made me doubt myself. And I don't even know why, but they're making me doubt the fact that it is Carmelo Hayes. So I still think it's Carmelo Hayes, but they did put some doubt into me where I'm wondering, I'm not as confident anymore. And that's a good thing, right? Like you want to not know all of the answers to what you're watching, right? So we had this confrontation between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. And here's the first thing that I want to say that I liked about this. Is that they didn't go out there and yell. They weren't like, you fucking did it. None of that. I didn't do it. No, none of that. These are two guys that had a friendship for a very, very long time. Trick Williams was the most supportive person to Carmelo Hayes. And Carmelo Hayes had so much success with Trick Williams there at his side. Now, granted, Carmelo Hayes worked for it and did it on his own, but he did have his closest friend out there rooting for him. Trick Williams, for the longest time, was just in his shadow. And remember when they decided to kind of end Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes? It wasn't an ugly fight. It was just Trick Williams telling Carmelo Hayes, hey, you know what? I don't want to be on the sidelines anymore. I want to make my own accomplishments. I want to have my own career, like my own thing here on NXT. And it ended nicely. Everyone understood. It wasn't dramatic. It was fine. And we were all out here going like, yeah, that's good. That's different. You don't often see that. Usually one of the friends or one of the partners would turn on the other person. And that's what we normally see. But this time things ended differently. But we have gone in multiple scenarios, multiple moments in which Carmelo Hayes doesn't seem as friendly as Trick Williams does. There's been little things, whether it's stares or just the way that he acts, the way that you think he's going to look like he's going to do something and then he doesn't. He pulls back because something happens. We've been seeing this now for several weeks. Okay, so Trick Williams gets attacked. He gets out of that, the four-way match, and so it doesn't happen. In this confrontation that they had, they were talking it out like two people with a past, two people that had, feelings for each other, right? In a friendly way, not in a romantic way, obviously, but in a friendly way, right? They had feelings, they had a relationship, they were friends, they were best freaking friends. And Trick Williams basically tells him, I was there for you. Why can't you be there for me the way that I was there for you? And Carmelo Hayes tells him, I always thought you were destined for greatness. So at first it seems like they may just have had a miscommunication. Happens to everybody, right? Everybody. But then Trick Williams says that he doesn't know who hit him, who attacked him. He was hit in the head. And next thing you know, he's being taken in an ambulance and he's out, right? He's out of the match. But he doesn't know who hit him. But he tells Hayes, all I know is that you weren't there. And Carmelo Hayes seems to be stuck on this. He's stuck on the whole idea that Trick Williams did not see who attacked him. And the fact that he was so stuck on that made me, again, go, he definitely did it. Because if you're guilty and you think there's a chance you may have gotten away, then you're going to be relieved. You're like, yes, he didn't see. I'm okay. I'm good. I can continue my lies. No one's going to know. And so for that reason, I still think it's Carmelo Hayes, even though they did put some doubt into me. And then Lexis King comes out. Remember I said earlier in these murder documentaries, there's these like weirdo people that come out and they try to take credit for whatever murder it is. That's what Lexis King was to me in this whole situation. He comes out and he kind of just butts his nose into their business, and he starts to, Trick tells him like, oh, mind your business. And Lexus King claims that he wants to come out here and help. And he just ends up causing more drama. And it leads to Trick wanting to punch him, but instead punches Carmelo Hayes. And then Lexus King bounces. He leaves. Trick Williams picks up Carmelo Hayes, and they end up hugging. And at the closing end of this, we see Carmelo Hayes with like a really mean face. Very, very mean face. So, did Carmelo Hayes do it? Is he the one? Or did Lexus King do it? Or was it somebody else? Did they manage to make you doubt yourself? I still think it's Carmelo Hayes. I did think it's still Carmelo Hayes, guys. There's no way that this cannot be Carmelo Hayes. Oh, Christopher says, Denise, I agree with you. I believe that Carmelo Hayes did it. Vance Rollins says, Trick attacked himself. Tony says, to be continued. Brian says, I did it for The Rock, with Rikishi doing it for The Rock. Never missed that. And Kevin says, Mello, don't miss. He didn't. He did technically. If it was him, he did technically hit him. And let's see what else we got here. I mean, it's got to be him, but they're doing a great job of at least making you go, well, what if? So shout out to NXT on that one. Will Chisholm sends in a super chat saying, UT feels like they're doing a Roxanne heel turn, but it's so passive that you really get to notice. P.S. that face Mello had at the end, he looked like a killer. You see, guys? These murder documentaries, they be paying off, guys. I've been learning storytelling from murder documentaries. What is it? I watch all the ones on Netflix. I watch all the ones on Hulu. I think it's Discovery ID. I think it's what it is. I forget what they're called, but I watch all of them. All right, and they be coming up with some stuff. Obviously, it's real, but you know what I mean. Will Chisholm, thank you so much for the generous super chat. I appreciate that a whole lot. Thank you for sending that in. All right. Everyone out here is saying that it is Carmelo Hayes. All right, well, we'll see. John Deller says you were also convinced that Cody was going to win at Mania. Let's not go there. Guys, I am so sick and tired of talking about Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns from WrestleMania 39. I'm done. I'm tired. I've said everything there is to say. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm finished. I finished the story before. All right, I'm done. Let's get into Von Wagner, Bron Breakker. Von Wagner, Bron Breakker. Let's get to it. I'm going to say this. Von Wagner literally went from one of the characters that I couldn't care less. I could not care less for Von Wagner, right? For the longest time, I was like, oh God, here we go again. Von Wagner. Why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep shoving it down our throats? Ooh, all the things I thought of. Today, on Tuesday, November 7th, I enjoyed my first ever Von Wagner match. Today was the first ever match I ever enjoyed from Von Wagner. And it was his match against Bron Breakker. So it's weird because it's kind of goofy, really. What they're having Von Wagner do and go out there with him barely with him doing any sort of movement, and then all of a sudden he starts to get loopy, like he just got off a roller coaster after eating like 20 hot dogs, and now he's looking like he kind of wants to throw up a little bit, right? It's a little bit goofy. Let's be real. With that being said, it's working for me. So, I don't know what that says about me, but it's working. So we know that Bron Breakker basically smashed the steel steps on his head, and we know the whole backstory with him as a child, right? And so he's gone. He was in the hospital. He was in physical therapy. He's back because he's really pissed at what obviously Bron Breakker did to him, but he's also mad about what he did to Robert Stone when Robert Stone went up against him because Robert Stone wanted justice for his friend. So Shawn Michaels tells the referee that, hey, you know what, use your discretion in this match, given that it's kind of a little bit of a special, unique circumstance with Von Wagner. So this match gets started off pretty hot. There was some good moments. We see Bron Breakker literally leap off of the steel steps, and before he can actually hit Von Wagner, instead Von ends up getting him with a big boot. I like that. Von had some momentum at the top of this match, but then he starts again to get a little loopy. He's doing the thing and he's looking around and his eyes bug out and he steps. It's like a zombie. His hands are out, the whole thing. And so Braun is able to capitalize on that weakness. But don't get me wrong, Von Wagner fights back. Like, this isn't like Braun was just beating the shit out of him the whole entire time. No, Von got in some hits there. He fights back, but Braun manages to take him down. He gets him down with more punches. He suplexes him. And then afterwards, this somehow ignites Von and he starts hitting himself on his own head. He's like getting fired up and he's hitting himself in his head. And this is where it started working for me. Again, it's goofy, but it's working for me. Bron Breakker hits Von Wagner with a low blow when the referee isn't looking, and I'm thinking to myself, that is the most savage thing that Bron has done. And you want to know why it's the most savage thing? This man, Von Wagner, is already technically all messed up in the head. He's all messed up. Dude has a big-ass bandage on his head. He's all loop-de-doop. And then he goes for the man's jewels. Who does that? He's already going through things, and then he gets him with the low blow. Braun, that is savage. Bro, that is messed up. That is messed up. So Braun spears Von Wagner on the outside. He spears him in the ring. He gets the win. 1, 2, 3. I had a fun time with this match. Afterwards, we do see Von Wagner get his heat back during this match, and this is all with the help of Robert Stone, because Robert Stone goes, he hits Bron Breakker with a chair in the back. Braun gets distracted by Robert Stone so that Von Wagner is able to end up putting him through a table. And Vic Joseph had a really funny line where he said, I don't care about my candy. Just put him through the table. And so this was very, very fun. I think if they keep this going with Von Wagner, if they keeping him at this type of intensity, because I think that was part of what was lacking with Von Wagner before, was that we didn't see any sort of personality, no intensity, nothing. But now we're seeing a lot more intensity. So I think that there is hope there. And I feel like if they keep this going and maybe eventually get him some nice little wins, I think that we can finally start to get behind Von Wagner. So you know what? Yay. Shout out to NXT for making it work with Von Wagner, because again, for the longest time, I personally, speaking for myself, did not have any interest whatsoever at all. So that's where I'm at with this here. And Dr. Dano says Braun should be in the main roster. What are they doing with him in NXT? I mean, we all thought he was going to get drafted, but that didn't end up happening. We'll see what's going to go down. We'll see what ends up happening there. All righty, and let's keep it going, everybody. We pretty much covered everything, but there are a couple more things that I want to get into, and that is some miscellaneous topics. And miscellaneous, I threw in Alpha Academy in this one, but we ended up getting a match between Tozawa and Noam Dar. Noam Dar wins again. He keeps his Heritage Cup. But there's some beef between Drew Gulak and Otis that happens backstage. So this leads into a match between Otis and Drew Gulak. Very fun match. Otis is the shit. He goes out there and is just so freaking entertaining. And he's funny, but not in a way that takes away from taking him seriously when he's in the ring. So I really like that. And this is a fun match. He takes out Drew Gulak with a clothesline. He does his little caterpillar. He hits the elbow and he power bombs him and gets the win. Good stuff here. Really love seeing Alpha Academy thrown in here to NXT. Thumbs up. Would like to see them on NXT even a little bit more. I think we can get some really great matches with Otis and other people, as well as Chad Gable and others as well. So I kind of hope that they keep this going. Brawling Brutes had a little video package where they are addressing some of the comments that Reggie and his friends made on the week prior, where they basically said that the Brawling Brutes did not grow up on the streets. In this video package, the Brawling Brutes are technically saying, yes, we did. Different streets, but they still did. And they kind of recap a little bit of their past. Butch talks about how he worked at pubs and at men's clubs and all of this. And I'm like, all right, I believe them. They look tough to me. So good stuff there. Ilya Dragunov has a quick promo and a videotaped promo, and he says that pretty much he's addressing the attack from Baron Corbin, saying that the only person that can slay the dragon is the dragon himself. JC Jane opens a letter that is supposed to be for Andre Chase. Now, next week, so far, only one match has been announced. And then, of course, we're going to get qualifiers. We still don't know what those are, but the one match that has been announced is we're going to be seeing Chase U versus Tony D and Stax Lorenzo in a rematch for the NXT tag team titles. And we don't know what was in that photo. It looks like a photo that JC Jane opened in that letter, but she seemed very shocked and she seemed to keep it to herself. So it seems that Andre Chase may be hiding some sort of secret. I don't know. It could be just a misunderstanding where JC Jane thought it was something and it's going to end up being something else. Who knows? So I hope that we get to see what that picture was or what that letter was eventually. All right. And that was pretty much what went down on NXT, everybody. Now, before we wrap up the show, I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow I will be back on Wednesday to chat AEW Dynamite with Reg. And then Friday, I will be here to talk about Smackdown. And then Saturday, I'll be here for AEW Collision. So I got a full slate of shows this week, but also I want to thank you guys because so many of you guys have been coming through and checking out the Apple Podcast page and leaving a review. So seriously, guys, thank you so much. I know that I've been kind of pushing it, but I do that just so that the podcast can continue to grow. And as you all know, if you do leave a review on the Apple Podcast page, I do go ahead and read the reviews on here. So I want to thank those that took the time to write out something on the reviews. And we got one here from Rick Rude 7988 who says, wonderful. Every time I see Denise has something new, I'm definitely checking it out. She's really talented and funny. I love her podcasts, interviews, and shows. Rick Rude 7988. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to do this. We have another review here from King Djack 007 who says, choo choo. If you need to listen to someone who has a baby face with a heel personality, Denise is your girl. Denise is knowledgeable in many areas that deal with pro wrestling and sports entertainment. Denise has the ability to bring people from different generations together with her hot takes and random silliness. She does indeed make you feel part of the show when she can. Denise is the go, or at least on her way to being one. King D Jack 007. Thank you so much for this very kind review and for making me laugh here. By the way, I appreciate that. Babyface with a heel personality. I'm going to use that moving forward. If you guys want to go ahead and leave a review, again, the link is in the description of this video or this audio portion. I am officially now at 85 ratings and I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. Only 15 away and there's still 2 months left, but let's try to get there. Again, if you enjoy these podcasts, please do so. It really does help me out a whole lot. Alrighty, everyone. That is it. Thank you guys so much. And I will be back here again tomorrow with Righteous Reg to talk about AEW Dynamite. Thank you, everybody. Bye.